about Godzilla versus Kong spoiler review. Keep in mind this is gonna be full spoilers, and yeah, I'm gonna be cutting right to the chase. I managed to catch this on HBO Max right away. 2 in the morning. I had to watch this, so it was like an hour and a half movie, almost 2 hours, and this movie is phenomenal. It's like, I mean, could you believe it was like way back in what was it, that first Godzilla movie that came out? It was like, was it 2016? So I think around then, or was it Kong Skull Island? I think it was 2014 when the first Godzilla movie came out, and then you proceeded to get Kong Skull Island, and then Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then this movie. And like little by little, things like, just easy movie proceeded to be better. Well, Godzilla versus King of the Monsters I didn't see, but from what the reviews I've watched and the because I read up on like the plot and everything like that after a while, but like the reviews I heard and the highlights that I've seen, like that was like a bit of a downgrade, but not too much of a downgrade. It was like a slight dip as far as what we should have been expecting, but I think that's mostly because the human element of the entire thing. And like I said, like it progressively gets a little bit better, because like in the first Godzilla movie, like we barely got the chance to see Godzilla until towards the end, when he's fighting like a couple of monsters. Then Godzilla King of the Monsters, you see entirely of Godzilla all the time. He rises up and fighting King Ghidorah, and like you get Mothra, like all that is just like awesome. And just those kaiju fights is just amazing. But then like Kong Skull Island, I think is like before Godzilla versus Kong Skull Island, I think was my favorite one, because like it's set during Vietnam. Then you got Samuel L. Jackson trying to take down Kong and everything like that, and it's like each one has in fact don't think no yeah, all of them until this movie. The previous movies had like an end credit scene where we'll see like what we're building up to up until like Godzilla versus King Kong. And man, the Kong Skull Island is amazing. I'm Team Kong all the way in this movie. So when that final end credit scene of that movie teased like the eventual battle between these two titans is going to be it's going to be something, and it was, because in this movie they talked about, because like the human element is a little bit better in this than it was in like the first Godzilla movie and King of the Monsters. I think like Kong Skull Island and this movie did the humans justice a bit better. They're not riveting by any means. You're here for the kaiju fights for the most part, and let's put all their energy into those. But the human element, when we have to cut to the human element, it wasn't terribly boring. There were a bit of science babble, but it wasn't like science babble like you see like CW, crap. It's science babble where he's like, okay, cool. I mean, they don't drag on about it. But anyway, then you got them, in the beginning of the movie, they like speak on like how like because Godzilla's attacking this particular well, like this massive factory or laboratory, because they was messing with a piece of technology. And if you know anything about Godzilla, he's like a equalizer for like for the planet Earth. Like it was, one like a monster's getting too big, he take them down. If humans getting too big for their britches, he levels the playing field for everybody. That's essentially his duty. But they feel like for the human level standards, they see Godzilla wrecking shop at this factory, not knowing why. Because normally, they mention this a lot. Godzilla doesn't just attack for a second for attacking. He usually attacks if he's provoked, and they don't know why exactly. They, for all intents and purposes, they think like he's just like gone crazy or something. But Millie, was it Millie or Billy Bobby Brown? I think it's Billy Bobby Brown, the Stranger Things girl. I only seen like a few things. These kaiju movies and the Sherlock Holmes Netflix movie thing that she was the lead in, like supposed to be his niece. But I never saw Stranger Things. I don't really care for Stranger Things. I don't really care. It's, I'm not going to really be bothered with Stranger Things, to be honest with you. But she essentially following this, like, ever since the events of King of the Monsters, she's been I guess you see her in school, she's not really focusing. See, so obsessed with like kaijus, or more specifically Godzilla, following this crazy podcaster who's all intents and purposes like just one of the most annoying characters in the entire film, to be honest with you. But then lo and behold, you got freaking Firefist from Deadpool 2 in this as her best friend. Like, oh my god, Firefist. I don't even know the kid's real name. I just think of him as Firefist because it's like the dumbest name, but it's like that's simple way to remember him. A New Zealand Firefist. But anyway, that's on their front. And then you got this woman who pretty much like walling off because like they took a piece of Skull Island, essentially. I think it's like a piece, or at least what's left of the island, and then walled it off in like this giant dome for Kong to still like relatively live in peace. Because after the events of Kong Skull Island, the natives that was there, because of some kind of cataclysmic event that happened on the island after some years passed, all but one little girl survived. Kong saved her. The lady scientist, who essentially her caregiver in a way, theorized that, or at least not theorized, she saw, somehow Kong saw something in her and went out of his way to save her, and they eventually formed this bond, and she was the only person that is able to communicate with Kong. So Kong essentially, from the events of Kong Skull Island, they mentioned like, yeah, he's still growing, and you see how big he got, like in this movie, and they know about at this modern day setting now, they know about Godzilla, and like into all their research and information they found on the island, and about what bit of Kong's history that they found out is that Kong's tribe and Godzilla constantly clash. Or at least maybe, I'm pretty sure like Godzilla had like a few species of his own, but it's like those two, it's like Bloods and the Crips kind of situation. Like they do not like each other. They're like biologically, are like just meant to just clash with each other above all kaijus. And as soon as like they knew, like they mentioned, like as soon as they bring Kong out of this dome, which for the most part has been hiding him from Godzilla, because they essentially like, it's like radar sense. They're like some like magnets. They in their like essentially immediately will be drawn to each other, and they will clash because Kong is king. He doesn't bow to nobody. He will fight any and everything if he has to, and he's like a beast in his own right. But then you got Godzilla, and he's like, I don't watch much kaijus. I seen like a few as a kid, and from what I remember, like, because Godzilla almost never lost a fight in any movie he's been in, and he only lost, I think, at least like out of all the fights he's ever been in, I think he only lost like maybe like two or three. I'm pretty sure it's two, and one of them was against Godzilla, and another would have been Ghidorah, more than likely, because King Ghidorah was the only strong, at least on par kind of kaiju that can easily go toe to toe with Godzilla. Everybody else was like beneath Godzilla. And if you've seen like King of the Monsters, they all like the various kaijus, after defeating King Ghidorah, recognized the alpha male essentially, and then bowed to Godzilla. And it's like, okay, you know who boss now, get the heck on. But as soon as they bring out Kong, they have him sedated, but they're trying to bring him out to take him to this facility so that way they can essentially lead him, because there's like I forgot the company of, I think, Apex. This company called Apex, hint hint, wink wink, Apex, essentially tried to recruit this guy scientist, don't even know his name, can't remember, recruit him in order to, because they found out about his research about like in this universe, the center of Earth, there's this hidden, not the centerpiece, probably closer to the core, but not at the core itself. But it's like this hollowed out area of the Earth where all these kaiju, probably been popping up from, because these channel networks on various spots around the globe where they usually probably be popping from. They believe that's where Kong and Godzilla and all these other, various kaiju probably sprang from in the first place. And it's a wonderful looking place too, but they feel like Kong is the only one they can feel like they can trick into guiding them to that area, so they can essentially get some piece of energy or something like that that's pretty much associated with like this power from this big ancient axe that Kong eventually finds, but it also looks like it's something that Godzilla is connected to. This is where he gets his power from the spines from his back that charges up when he's about to let out an atomic blast from his mouth. So they're all connected. But this big company's big shot guy recruits the scientist, and then has his daughter coming in to monitor the whole situation. Essentially, they don't know that she's his daughter. I don't even think they even they knew him, but like the guy scientist knows him, but everybody else don't. But they don't know that the woman is his daughter. At least that's not what I believed, because I don't think that it was ever even brought up. But lo and behold, as soon as they out in the middle of the ocean, here comes Godzilla. And like the first fight was ridiculous. But it's like Kong was obviously at a complete disadvantage. This fight, despite the massive blows that Kong was landing, just decking the perks of having like arms and opposable thumbs and fingers, is like, he actually like duke it out and just wail on Godzilla. But Godzilla's like, no dummy in his own right, because just FYI, did you know that Godzilla has like two brains, one in his head and one in like somewhere in the center of his body? It's like, I learned that a long time ago. It's like he has essentially two brains. But Godzilla end up dragging eventually Kong into the water, where he has the clear advantage. But the soldiers on the ship use their missile to like, essentially blow into the water just to disorient Godzilla enough to release Kong before he drowns. And then of course, Kong climbs back up exhausted, like, and it's like clear winner Godzilla in this fight. But they had to play, and which I found very clever. They had to essentially play dead, turn off all like the engines and the weapons and all this stuff, since Kong is like laid out essentially, and everybody else is just dead quiet. Whoever's left after the scuffle, Godzilla pretty much is like, oh, well, that's that, and then dips off. And it's like, wow, that's just like that was like a heavy blow to probably Kong's ego. I mean, if he had like any kind of ego, it's like you took your probably first big loss you ever had in your entire life, man. Because he was king on that island, but like this is like a whole breed of like badassery you have to deal with. This is no skull crawlers at all. But then eventually they managed to bring him to the facility via the air, because they can't travel on the sea no more, otherwise Godzilla will just come right back. So they have to carry him all the way to the facility by aircraft. And essentially this is like the last thing. There's no way for us to leave him here because he'll die because it's like a snowy wasteland. It's like where this facility is. There's no way they can leave him here because he'll just eventually die from the hypothermia. And there's no way you can bring him back to the island because they lost significant amount of manpower dealing with Godzilla. So they convinced the girl who can communicate to Godzilla to go into this area, this little hollowed out hole where they managed to tunnel through significantly far up to a certain point. And when they use these little like fantastic cars where they flying into the air like Jetson style, and like fly the woman, the child, the guy scientist, the CEO's daughter, and a bunch of soldiers fly into this little look like this like a almost like a Stargate in a way, and like is like very, it looks so good. It's like they pretty much like like pull. It's like what you hear about when you have what happens when you go to a black hole, and it's like kind of like pulls you like a string in a way. It's not exactly like pulling like a string, but it's like the event horizon. It's like they like falling back in the seats, and it's like jerking, and it's like because he had to handle CEO's daughter like a barf bag, because like a lot of people like puke from the inertia and all this stuff, because it's like the force that is taken to drag them to this other land that they never dealt with before, and it's kind of like a journey to the center of the earth kind of situation. But then once there, they found out that like Kong's people essentially just died out. He is the last one essentially. I am the last one. And he sits on like pretty much like a throne where it like looks like the home where Kong's people pretty much grouped or at least cultivate. So he sat on the throne with his little axe, Mjolnir axe kind of thing. And then of course like the CEO's daughter is like a very shitty person. They quickly turn on him, obviously. Who didn't see that one coming? But anyway, M4. But essentially, they finally got a hold of like the CEO's daughter finally got a hold of the energy source they was looking for, and then transferred the data over to her father, who used it to essentially build a Mecha Godzilla. Because when they previous attempts trying to pilot the thing using like the skull remain of one of the skull remains of King Ghidorah to like psychically link or something towards to make the Mech Godzilla run, but they lacked the significant power source, because they trying to essentially, that's the reason why Godzilla kept attacking. He sensed like this King Ghidorah's like energy or power, something radiating. I don't think he was expecting King Ghidorah, but he recognized a bit of power level. So coming from this facility, he had to knock it down just to like, I'm nipping in the bud. But he didn't know that. But they knew what they was provoking Godzilla by turning this thing. Every time they turn this thing on, they essentially, it's just like the kind of senses that Kong's giving out to cause Godzilla to this unknown, or at least unknown slash familiar threat, that Godzilla immediately just goes in attack mode. And like that's essentially what they're turning on, this little power that they trying to emote just to power this mech up. But then of course it goes out of control because, like, you know, man can't control like certain things that's out of their essentially nature. It's like the whole running theme of Godzilla is just like man going too much in power and wrecking the balance of nature itself, and Godzilla steps in to equalize the balance. And of course Millie Bobby Brown and her little crew, her Scooby-Doo gang, essentially somehow break into this facility without being stopped at once. But there's all these machinations. Like I said, the human element doesn't necessarily warrant like much discussion. It's not really that much I care about, but it's still far better than what it was in previous movies. It was just like this, and Kong Skull Island probably does the human element at least slightly better than the other two remaining films. But they somehow break in, realize that this man essentially is wielding power he can't possibly control, and lo and behold, the mech Godzilla turns on everybody, and then ends up killing. Just like, I don't know why the mech proceeded to just immediately attack the little area that, you know, the CEO guy was in, because everybody's sitting there backing up because they see that that thing is looking directly at them, and they all backing up, and he, you know, smashed through just enough to kill that guy, and then start escaping out of the facility where they in to go run rampant in Hong Kong, because that's where they was at. They all, you know, rushed it to meet up at Hong Kong. And but while Godzilla recognized the power, he coming to Hong Kong and essentially searching for wherever that monster power he sensing is coming from. But then it was at this moment when like Kong was sent powering up the axe, essentially, because I guess it needs like a recharge. Essentially, it has been used for God knows how long. And then Godzilla, you know, he's connected, so he recognized, okay, something's up. And then he instinctively uses a time of breath, plows at the ground, drilling straight into the center of the earth, essentially, to reach where Godzilla and his crew is at. And then they both roaring at each other on opposite ends, like Kong and Godzilla. But then as soon as like the CEO's daughter was trying to escape, Kong was in her way, and then the stupid woman sitting there firing off rockets, attacking him, and then Kong grabbed that sucker right in the air, looked inside, just make sure the kid's not in there. And then it's probably the most jarring part of the movie for me, because like, I don't know why, just maybe the thought of being crushed, but it's just, I've seen tons of people get crushed in these movies. I didn't feel nothing, but this one got me for some reasons. Like, ooh, made me cringe, because like light source here, I'm like, oh, no, it's too bright. Sorry, it's getting kind of dark outside. But yeah, it's just like the he crushes, and you can hear her like scream so loud right before like the initial crush, and that, I don't know why that got me, but it got me, man. It's like, oh my god. It's like, it's just maybe the terror in the voice, you know, just like probably struck a nerve in me. It's like, wow. It's like, I want her dead, but it's like, I didn't need to hear that. I didn't need to hear that scream before the initial crush. But the rest of them like managed the Kong, the guy scientist, the lady scientist, and the little girl all managed to escape on the spare Jetson vehicle and essentially fly out while Kong pretty much like you know you know got him jump through on the opposite end to meet up with Godzilla for the next bout. And like it's like a brutal back and forth, but I mean like I don't know if they try to mix it up here, but essentially I think I mean like for a brief moment, Godzilla looked like he got the upper hand because the guy scientist watching the fight from the Jetson vehicle they have and looking into the sky and see that yeah, with that power axe Kong has, he got some kind of weapon with the power of what Godzilla is fueling himself with, essentially be able to like easily like knock him senseless. And he meant the guy scientist was like round two goes to Kong, but that wasn't like a long that's pretty much like it wasn't like Godzilla was like knocked out like Kong was previously in the movie. He was just like pretty much dazed a bit. Probably got his bell rung for the first time in a while. Probably not since Ghidorah. He got his bell rung so badly. And then he got up, and then they fought again, and Godzilla got Kong to the ground, stepped on his chest, and it's like roared in his face, and then Kong never to back down to nobody, roar right back. But he trying to steady like get up, but he's like he took so much damage from Godzilla, he just like stunned right back down and just like laid out unconscious. And then here come Mega Godzilla coming in to pick off Godzilla because he's already worn out from that massive fight between Kong. So it's like he has no shape to deal with this on his own at all in his current state. So he's losing that fight. And then the little girl, at least the guy and lady scientist, look like Kong is like his heart is like beating so slow into the point where it's like they think he's gonna die if any minute if we don't try to jumpstart his heart. Use the fantastic car they have and pretty much let out like a big electrical blast, blew it up eventually, that jolted Kong's heart. And then the little girl had to sign to Kong that Godzilla needs your help, he's not your enemy kind of thing. So Godzilla, Kong team up, take down the Mecha Godzilla. It's awesome, man. Like I said, like we come for the kaiju fights for the most part, and they deliver every time. And man, I see Kong and Godzilla pretty much like it looked like a big wrestling match. And it's like they you see like wrestling matches, one wrestler grabs on a wrestler's left arm and another wrestler grabs on the wrestler A grabs like wrestler B's arm, while wrestler C grabs on wrestler B's right arm, and they sit there like try to plow them against the ropes and everything like that to stun them. That's pretty much what they did while they ramming each other into various buildings. It's all evacuated, of course. They, all these years, like in this universe, they come to realize there's got to be evacuation measures in place when dealing with kaiju fights at this point. And smells like Teenage Spirit. Thanks for the follow, man. Yeah, so they eventually they literally about to lose against Mecha Godzilla until because like the mech's tail was turned to a drill, about to drill Kong's head, and then Godzilla realizing like, all right, I need to help this guy, and then he realized to use his atomic breath, charge up Kong's axe, and then Kong just sliced, just barely just sliced and hacked away against Mechagodzilla, and did like a Mortal Kombat move and ripped off the mech's head with his spinal cord still attached. So that, both of them pretty much pooped now, but then like they just stared at each other. Kong dropped his axe. Godzilla's like just nods, like I'm just interpreting this in my viewing of it, and it's like I was like, is this like it's kind of like a nod of respect, like okay, all right, like Godzilla's like, all right, punk, okay, I got you, kind of thing, and then just swam off, and it's pretty much like the end of the movie is like Kong back into, he found his home again. He's there while Godzilla's pretty much on the surface, monitoring things there. So I like to think maybe they both like, probably share the Apex title between each other, but they on their own little ends of things, protecting on one end while the other's dealing with the other end of things. So essentially everybody's happy. There's no end credits in this point because I kind of hope to see another kaiju movie, because the one kaiju we have not seen yet, and I want to see in the future, is Gamera, the pretty much like a flying kaiju turtle, and I want to see that too. And it's like, okay, and then like maybe Mecha King Ghidorah. I was like, they building this up, this monster verse thing very well, and it's like I hope, because they're going to do the Universal monster movie, because they did well with the Invisible Man, and Ryan Gosling has already been cast to play the Wolfman. I'm pretty sure it's still in production, maybe, or at least they still like filming or whatever like that right now. Everybody who doing these shared universes are finally on track after the Justice League Snyder cut and everything like that, and with the Batman Matt Reeves movie, and Shazam and Wonder Woman. Like, everybody's on track now. Like, just don't drop the ball anymore. Like, make your individual movies and do the shared thing when the narrative serves the purpose for it. And so everybody's finally on track. I'm looking forward to these movies in the future. And like, this movie is phenomenal. Like, the human, like I said, the human element didn't bother me so much like it did in the previous films. I think like I said earlier, Kong Skull Island and Godzilla versus Kong is probably my favorite kaiju movies right now, because I think like third place would be the first Godzilla movie, and then like dead last is King of the Monsters. That is just, I think they had like the worst. No, the first Godzilla movie in 2014 like probably had the worst human element to it, because it's like except for like Bryan Cranston and like something Watanabe. I forgot that Japanese actor. He was in Detective Pikachu as the Ryan Reynolds boss at the police precinct. I forgot what's his doggone name, first name, something Watanabe. But there was only two human elements that anybody really cared about in the like earlier parts of this shared universe that we're dealing with. But then you got Millie Bobby Brown, which she's a fine actress and everything like that. Everybody's raised about her, but it's like, she's a fine actress, not something that I crow about. But I was kind of expecting to see her and that little girl who formed a bond with Kong. The little girl, only does sign language. She can't speak, but I wanted some kind of interaction between these two, because like they're the only two people that actually had some kind of. Well, I don't know about Millie Bobby Brown's character that had that much of a connection with Godzilla like that. Like, it's not on the same level as the little girl with Kong, because they had time to cultivate that for a while. But I wanted to see those two interact in this movie to see like, okay, like we're the only two people in the entire world that can actually calm these beasts in a way that I think they were the only two people that they actually like, that kept them from really going like full rampage on everybody. But yeah, I like this movie. Like, despite, like, you know, because I think like the only human like I really did not like that I found annoying in the human parts was that podcaster guy. That podcaster guy was more annoying than Fire Fist, which is weird. And it's like every time he talks, it's like he's just like corny. And when they try to give him like some kind of like a background, like about his like deceased wife from a previous kaiju fight, and she died, I think, I don't know if it was in a kaiju fight or just natural causes. I can't remember. He's a no nothing character to me. I'm sorry, I do not care. He was probably like if I had any cons out of my pros, he's one of the big cons for me. But I'm pretty sure after more viewings, I'll probably find some other stuff that I might have issues with, but that is, for right now, is the only thing that kind of jumps to mind. But all in all, this movie is very, very good. If you have HBO Max, I do highly suggest you check out this movie. The next movie I'll be two movies I'm really looking forward to that's coming up soon is Mortal Kombat, which comes out a week before my birthday on April 16th. I'm reviewing that, and then the few weeks after that, the Cruella movie. It's probably the only live action Disney movie that I'm probably actually looking forward to, because Emma Stone looking like she's having like a ball, and it looked like straight up Joker vibes and everything like that. Like, I really want to see that movie. So thank you for joining me. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends. I'll have this up on my YouTube channel, Talkative Carl, so subscribe there as well. You can follow me on Twitter at same name, Talkative Carl, so you'll know whenever I'm streaming video games or doing reviews. And stay tuned a little bit. I will be posting like a special video, a discussion video of something I posted on my Twitter earlier in the week, of like, it was something that came to mind after the whole Lil Nas X controversy thing with his music video with the whole devil thing, and it got me thinking, if you ever watched the TV show Supernatural or the Netflix show Lucifer, Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer on the Netflix show, who used to be on Fox, plays a phenomenal Lucifer Morningstar devil. And same, but by the other end of the spectrum, if you watch Supernatural throughout the 15 years of 15 seasons of that show, the guy who plays Lucifer in that show, who's like probably one of the biggest fan favorites, Mark Pellegrino, who plays Lucifer in that show, is phenomenal. And I always want to, I just had like I posted on Twitter, and everybody picked their side of things, which is like an overwhelming vote. And it's like, these two major devils, like, what would happen if these two men fight? And I'm gonna make a video in a few minutes to actually go over the list of like stats, and then talk about, because I watched the show, like these shows are like one of my favorite shows, and I want to talk about these two and see what will be like if they actually clash, and who will actually win scientifically. Who will win between these two very different devils? And like, that's something I'm eager to talk about. So join me. You can join me in a few minutes and join in on the discussion. And if you are a fan of either one of these shows or both, I'm eager to hear what you guys think about that. But Kong versus Godzilla, please leave a comment below of this video and let me know what you think of the movie. And I am, I'm eager to hear y'all thoughts and see, if you're Team Kong or Team Godzilla. I'm Team Kong personally, and I just like the way it ended. I was assuming that this movie will end with Kong's decisive victory over Godzilla, because Godzilla technically only lost against either Ghidorah or Kong in the past, in like the old school, the most old school movies of the kaiju movies. And I thought it was going to be playing out the same way, but wasn't the case. But so essentially a draw, because one won once, another won once, and the last fight they had between each other was a draw essentially, but or at least interrupted by unforeseen force that they both had to tackle. So yeah, that was my review of Kong Skull Island, Godzilla versus Kong. So I will see you guys in a few minutes. Take care, be safe.